Spider-Man is a name known by almost everybody in the country. Perhaps the most famous superhero of all time, Spider-Man movies just about always turn out a profit, especially when Marvel Mania was in its heyday a few years ago. And since Spider-Man is such a popular character, it would make sense that Sony, who holds the rights to the character, would try to capitalize off the Spidey IP as much as possible. What doesn't make any sense, however, is why they chose to go about capitalizing on it by making movies about Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven the Hunter. To the surprise of literally nobody, all three of these movies were not only destroyed by critics, but they lost the studio so much money that they actually had to Old Yeller the entire cinematic universe. No one cared about any of these movies, and even for the small minority of people that did care, most of them were disappointed by just how awful these films were. It would be impressive to release just one of these F-tier superhero movies, but the fact that the Sony Spiderman Universe produced 3 of them is almost unbelievable. Today, I don't just have one huge stinker to talk about, I'm reviewing all 3 of these super stinkers from the now defunct Sony Spiderman Universe, and after I'm done torturing myself, I will rank these movies from best to worst. So be sure to stick around till the end of the video to see that. Now, let's not prolong the suffering anymore, jumping right into our first film, it's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time.
If I was tasked with making a movie about a Spider-Man villain and Venom was already taken, I'm not joking when I say that there are about 15 other characters I would choose before I got to Morbius. As far as Spider-Man villains go, Morbius is probably down there around like Shocker, and honestly, I probably would have chosen to make a Shocker movie over a Morbius movie, which just goes to show how much hype and interest there was surrounding a movie about Morbius, of all people. I do just have to mention that Morbius did make history by being the first film ever, as far as I know, to be pulled from theaters, then re-released because the studio thought that everyone would go see it because of all the memes about it, but then it got pulled from theaters again when, to no one's surprise, not a single soul went to go watch the movie. But enough about the film's poor reception, how about the film itself? Just how bad could it actually be? Let's find out. So the film starts out with Dr. Michael Morbius going to this cave full of vampire bats in Costa Rica. He sets up a bat trap in front of the entrance of the cave and cuts his hand to use his blood as bait to lure the bats into the trap. He's also a total jerk and doesn't warn all of these dudes with him what he's about to do, so they almost die from a giant avalanche of bats that fly out of the cave. We then get a flashback to when Morbius was a kid. He has some unnamed illness that causes him to be extremely weak and constantly need to change out his blood. He meets a kid named Lucien, who he nicknames Milo for some reason, and I just gotta jump in here and say that this is the first scene of many that suffers from a signature touch of any of these horrible Sony Spider-Man villain movies, which is very noticeable in extremely awful ADR.
And you're still not cured.
There's no cure. There's something missing from our DNA.
Bruh, the editing in this scene is super weird and jarring, and it reeks of multiple cuts and versions of the film that eventually led to this jumbled up mess. Hope you all enjoyed that editing, because there are many more examples to come, not only in this movie, but the other 2 films as well. One day, Lucien's machine just stops working for no reason, and Michael is able to use the spring and a pen to fix it somehow. This impresses his caregiver, Nicholas, so much that he gets him a full-ride scholarship to a school in New York. Like, I know fixing that machine was super impressive and all, but was that single act really enough to fully convince this dude Nicholas that Michael was some kind of super genius prodigy that needed to go to this top-notch school? What did he put on the scholarship form? This kid fixed a medical machine one time with a pen, and that was enough to convince this high-end school to cover his entire tuition. Following that, we cut back to present day where Dr. Morbius is about to receive the Nobel Prize for his invention of artificial blood, which has saved countless lives. We find out that he rejected the prize off-screen because the artificial blood was an accidental byproduct of his attempts to cure his illness, so he didn't feel like he should be awarded the prize for an invention that was a failure in his eyes. His co-worker and love interest, Dr. Martine Bancroft, questions Morbius on why he's mixing mixing his DNA with bat DNA, and it's because of some contrived made-up nonsense about how vampire bats have this special anti-coagulant that allows them to drink blood. So if Morbius can get his body to produce the same anti-coagulants, then he can cure his disease with magic. Yay. Always a great idea to combine human DNA and animal DNA, like that just never goes wrong, guys. Morbius goes to visit Milo and tell him that he has developed a cure, but because it's illegal, wonder why the government would make mixing human and animal DNA illegal for some reason, he needs to perform the procedure on international waters, so Milo, who is involved in crime stuff, helps him out by covering the costs for the procedure and getting him on a ship full of thugs. Morbius and Bancroft set up the experiment aboard the ship, and for absolutely no reason, one of the pirates decides to go below deck and bother the two doctors.
I can be wherever I want, nurse.
Doctor.
Doctor.
Bro, this dude is speedrunning the try to be the biggest possible jerk you can challenge, and I'm almost shocked that they didn't have him chewing on gum or taking a bite out of an apple or giving someone a noogie or something like that, because those are like the only things they could have done to make this guy more of a jerk than he already is. While the jerk guy is down there, Michael, who is supposed to be unconscious due to the procedure, is somehow out of his bed, and when Martine and the jerk go to check on him, he pounces on the jerk from the ceiling and kills him. Then they call the rescue heroes for some reason.
It's just me.
Let's move! Rescue heroes! Rescue heroes!
After Morbius morbs the jerk guy, the rest of the pirate goons come down, and when Dr. Bancroft tries to stop them, one of the guys just lightly pushes her, and this is somehow enough to send her flying to the ground and knocks her out for like over a day. She doesn't even hit her head, she lands on her shoulder, and that somehow knocks her out for over a day. Okay. Morbius breaks out of his glass cell, and now, ladies and gentlemen, it is officially Morbin time. Michael proceeds to stalk and kill every last one of the mercenaries, and it is at this point that I would like to bring up the fact that this movie looks like it was very much intended to be rated R, but some higher up came in and demanded that they drop the rating to PG-13 so that more people could see it. In this scene, there is a fair amount of bloodshed for a PG-13 movie, and given the fact that Morbius is a vampire who feasts on blood, it really seems like this movie should have been given an R rating. I mean, Sony let Kraven stay rated R, and if anything, this movie had much more of a thematic reason to have more gore and an R rating. However, Sony, for some reason, made sure that Morbius stayed PG-13, but it's totally okay for Kraven to go rated R. Makes no sense. It definitely feels like a significant amount of gore is missing from this scene, and that lack of gore distracts from as well as weakens the scene overall. After he morbed the mercs, Morbius wakes up and watches the movie Morbius, which makes him throw up. Just kidding. He watches the security footage of him killing everyone and he is disgusted, so he calls for help and then yeets himself off the ship. Why did this pirate boat have security cameras? So they could play real life Five Nights at Morbius's? Anyways, the FBI sends Agent Stroud and Agent Rodriguez to investigate the crime scene, and dude, Agent Rodriguez is literally an FBI agent from like a Disney Channel show or something.
Apparently they all shop at the same mercenary supply store.
Just the way he talks and acts is like he's pretending to be in a comedy movie. Basically, he gives off that class clown vibe where he's just trying his darnest to be funny, and because he is trying so hard, it comes across more so as annoying rather than hilarious. Dr. Morbius sneaks back into his lab and begins to test his powers and abilities, and he discovers that he needs to drink blood in order to survive now. He starts out with the artificial blood he had made, but that slowly starts to lose its effectiveness, so he fears that he will soon have to drink actual human blood. He decides to test himself by locking himself in a glass chamber and see what happens if he goes without blood for a long period of time. I don't know why he does this though, like, is he trying to kill himself? He's actually trapped in there, devoid of superpowers due to his fast from blood, with no way out. Bruh, even if the lack of blood didn't kill you, the lack of water would've. what are you doing, bro? Luckily for Morbius, his friend Milo shows up because he was worried about Morbius after he heard what happened on the ship, so he opens the chamber and gets Michael some artificial blood just in the nick of time. How did he know the exact password to open up the chamber door? Don't worry about it. Milo sees that Michael is no longer frail and weak due to the procedure, so he immediately asks Michael to give him the injection so he can become just like Mike.
Michael, enough. Just give it to me. I need it. I can't live like this any longer. Please.
I like how the movie uses poor ADR to just have Milo unnecessarily explain his motivations and request to be injected. He just all at once is like, give it to me, Michael. Remember, I'm dying. I need it now. Give it to me right now, Michael, now. In like 3 seconds. Obviously, Morbius doesn't want Milo to end up like him, so he tells him no and makes him leave. But Milo somehow gets one of the serums anyways and injects himself off screen. Dude, I know you're dying, but you just saw this bro Morbius drink a pint of blood and get like some kind of weird monster face when he yelled at you, and you still decided to take this serum? In the next scene, this nurse from the lab Morbius works at is walking down the most stupid hallway ever invented by mankind before she is attacked by Milo and killed. The way this hallway works is that only the section you are currently walking in will have the lights turn on, and then they will turn off when you make it to the next section, so the room will be completely dark for a second before the next lights turn on. Who is running this lab/hospital? Mr. Krabs? Can you really not be bothered to pay for normal lights? You just have to be as stingy as possible and only pay to turn on the one light that someone is under at a time. There are sick children who live in this lab. Imagine one of them as they go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and now they're just scared out of their minds as they have to traverse this stupidly lit hallway that's straight out of a horror movie set. But whatever. The nurse's body is discovered the next day, and Michael thinks he did it when he fell asleep, like maybe he sleepwalked and killed this lady or something. So he decides to book it out of there, but he is stopped in the lobby by Agent Stroud and Rodriguez. This leads to a short chase resulting in Morbius being caught and taken into custody by the FBI.
Holy water?
What? I'm not taking any chances. It's triple blessed.
Dude, Rodriguez actually thinks he's in a comedy movie. Like, he actually thinks he's the main character. This dude, for the life of him, cannot take his job seriously. Morbius asks for his artificial blood, but the agents say not to that, and Michael starts dying in his cell. Milo pretends to be his lawyer, and Morbius says he is being charged with murder, and that maybe he killed the nurse when he blacked out, but dude, you should still definitely be charged for murder because you actually did kill all of those mercenary guys. Like, sure, they were bad guys, but you still killed them. So even if you didn't kill the nurse, you should still definitely be charged with murder because you did murder people. Milo drops off a bag of blood for Michael since, yeah, prisons definitely don't frisk people before letting them see highly dangerous prisoners, and Michael realizes that Milo left his cane in the room, and that is enough to let him know that Milo took the serum and was the one who killed the nurse. So he uses his power from the blood to break out of the cell and find Milo. Milo randomly buys a newspaper from some guy, and then when the guy at the newspaper stand says that he always knew Morbius was a freak just by looking at him, Milo takes offense that this guy judges people by the way they look and kills him. Milo, what the heck, brother? This dude just said that your friend was a freak, and that was enough to warrant killing him in public? Also, I like all these little Easter eggs they threw into the Daily Bugle newspaper here. Rhino on the loose, zoo hoax fools us all, black cat, friend or foe, Madam Web movie, terrible or putridly awful. Morbius finds Milo using his echolocation powers, and Milo tells Morbius that he doesn't think they are monsters, and now that they are no longer sickly, they should go out and have some fun. Yes, that is the motivation for the main antagonist of Morbius. Milo's whole goal now, his whole evil scheme, is to just go out on the town and have some fun. That's what he wants to do. Not take over the world or anything. He just wants to have fun. Like, okay, I guess. But Morbius doesn't want Milo to have fun, and by fun, I mean kill people. So Milo and Morbius have a little fight in the subway, and oh my goodness, Squidward, this CGI is terrible.
Oh my goodness, this is awful!
Milo kills some cops, and then starts dancing for some reason. Okay. And after that, he says that because he and Michael had to live with death hanging over them, now everyone else should feel the same way. Bruh. Can I take a minute to ask what is this man's motivation anymore? Because it's starting to get more confusing than the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. So first, he wants to take this serum to save his life from an unnamed disease that's killing him, which sure, that motivation is fine, but then once he gets the powers, he says that he wants to convince Michael that they aren't monsters, but then after that, he says that what he wants is to have fun, but then he says that he wants other people to feel the threat of death hanging over them. Which one is it, dude? The lack of a clear, understandable motivation is just one of the many factors that holds Milo back from being an even semi-competent villain. Bruh, this is so goofy. This is, like, not even scary or tense at all. I was straight up laughing when I saw this man running like this. Bro looks like he is a villain straight out of the live-action Scooby-Doo movies right now. Anyways, Morbius escapes using flying on the wind powers he just discovered, and the next day, Morbi finds Dr. Bancroft and tells her that he did not kill anybody, which is a certified lie. Cause he totally did kill all those mercenary guys. I don't know why no one cares about these guys. He killed people. He killed all these dudes. He killed them. He needs her help to find a cure, and while they're at the cafe, he notices that some goons tried to pay with fake money, so he follows them to their hideout so he can take over their lab. Cause yeah, a cheap, shoddy, underground counterfeit currency lab is totally gonna have everything you need to turn it into a state-of-the-art laboratory that can help you find a cure. Bruh, how would Morbius even know that Venom said this? This is just such a stupid reference that does not make any sense. Meanwhile, Milo is dancing to Travis Scott's Fiend as he's getting ready to have some fun downtown, because I guess he switched back to that motivation for this part of the movie. He tries picking up a girl, but then her simp boyfriend gets mad and shoves him, so Milo waits for him to leave the bar and then kills him and his friends. Bro, Milo's motivation in this film is to actually just have fun at the club, pick up cute girls, and then use his powers to kill anyone who makes him mad. Like, if you took out the killing part, bro is just an average everyday frat boy. Dr. Bancroft goes to Morbius's lab to get some supplies, but Milo is somehow there and he asks Martine if she knows where Michael is. She lies to him and brings the stuff back to Michael, and the two proceed to make out and stuff. Milo is spying on Martine, so he sees them kissing and he feels betrayed. Nicholas, who, shoot dude, I forgot he was even in this movie, sees all of these killings on the news and sees that Milo was caught on security footage at one of the crime scenes, so he goes to visit him and find out what's going on. I gotta say, this argument between Milo and Nicholas is actually one of the very rare few good scenes from this movie. The acting is on point, we've both seen Nick and Milo's perspectives and understand how they feel and where they're coming from, and overall it just comes together really well. So I wanted to take a moment to recognize this scene as an outlier in the midst of a terrible movie. Good job. Milo almost kills Nick and tells him to call Michael for help, so Nick does, and Michael shows up to help him, only to get there right as Nick dies. While Morbius was distracted, Milo was able to kidnap Martine, and he fatally wounds her before Morbius is able to get to her. She tells Morbius that she can help him beat Milo by letting him drink her blood, but he doesn't want to, and then they kiss, and she bites his lip, and licks up his blood for some reason before dying. Oh wow, hope that one drop of blood doesn't somehow give her superpowers later on. When she dies, Michael ends up drinking her blood before Milo shows up to mock him, and the two get into a giant, poorly CGI'd fight. Milo beats up Morbius and tackles him underground into this giant abandoned tunnel area that is randomly here for some reason. Michael calls to the bats in this cave somehow, even though he has never done this before, nor even tried to practice doing this, and they somehow heal him of his injuries by flying around him. Did I mention that this movie is really dumb yet? Michael uses the bats to attack Milo and pin him to the wall so he can stab Milo with the serum that will kill him. Yeah, I kinda forgot to mention, right before Michael went to visit Nick, him and Martine discovered a formula that could kill vampire beings like himself and Milo, so Morbius uses that to kill Milo. And for all of you wondering out there, yes, right before he stabs Milo with the serum, he does indeed say, "It's Morbin time." The movie ends with Martine opening her eyes because I guess she has powers now because this movie is very dumb. There are 2 post-credit scenes. The first one shows that the events of Spider-Man No Way Home somehow leads to Michael Keaton's Vulture teleporting to this universe, and because no one has any idea who he is or how he teleported into a prison cell, they just let him go, no questions asked for some reason. The second scene shows Morbius meet up with Vulture out in the middle of the desert, and the Vulture tells him that powerful beings like him and Michael could do a lot of good, and that they should put together a team, which heavily hints at a future Sinister Six movie. But just like the last time Sony hinted at that, it's not gonna happen. And yeah, that's Morbius. A bland, empty movie with terrible ADR, a first draft script, bad pacing, awful CGI, one-dimensional characters, and whack editing. Now I just have to do this 2 more times. Hooray! Somebody please help me. Please subscribe to make this all worth it. If you don't, I will die and then sue you for causing my death by not subscribing. Yay! Oh, yeah, I'm so excited. Please subscribe. Ah!
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before.
Now, if y'all thought Morbius was bad, let me assure y'all that y'all ain't seen nothing yet. Get ready for the longest review in this video. I don't know why I'm talking in a Western accent. That wasn't in my script. I just made that up on the spot because I saw the word y'all in my script and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be really funny if I read this in a Western accent? Like, that would be funny, right? Remember how I said that there were about 15 other villains I would have chosen to make a movie about before I got to Morbius? Well, there are probably over 100 Spider-Man characters I would have rather made a movie about before I got to Madam Web. Madam Web is so irrelevant, like a rice gum level of irrelevant, that the character didn't even have her own comic book before they made this movie. She is literally the definition of a side character. So I have no idea who the hillbilly greenlit an $100 million movie about Madam Web of all people. Now look, we could go on for a long time about all the ways this movie failed, was mocked, ridiculed, laughed at, memed, but I have 3 other videos on that, so check those out if you want to, and this time, let's just dive right into this cesspool and talk about what makes this movie so atrocious. We open on Constance Webb researching spiders in the Amazon right before she dies.
I agreed to provide security for you because I thought you were close to finding the spider.
Hey, Mario, how come his lips aren't moving when he talks?
Maybe he's been watching too many
Sony Spiderman Universe movies.
Oh yeah, if you thought that Morbius had terrible audio dubbing, I am not exaggerating when I say that Madam Web legitimately has the single worst ADR from any major motion picture production that I have ever seen with my own 2 eyes. And again, I cannot stress enough that I am not being hyperbolic here. This movie actually has the worst audio dubbing I have ever seen in a major motion picture ever. No exaggeration, straight up, the worst audio dubbing. It is actually that bad. Kung Pao Enter the Fist almost had better audio dubbing than that of Madam Web.
First, a joke.
Constance is being provided protection by this guy named Ezekiel Sims, but later we see she is here with an entire team, so I don't know what this guy is even doing here right now. Like, is he some kind of highly trained bodyguard or assassin? I just gotta say this right now, Ezekiel does not speak like a human being, bro. This man's dialogue sounds like it was generated by a third-rate AI text-to-speech program.
That spider can give superhuman strength and power like Las Arañas.
Like, what accent is this, bro? Anyways, Constance finds the magical CGI spider she was looking for off screen, and Ezekiel tries to steal it from her, which results in him shooting her in the struggle. Bro, this is so dumb. This is not how you write a movie. You can't establish that these spiders are super rare through dialogue, and then have her just immediately find one 2 minutes later. That's not how world continuity works.
I don't...
Dude, this guy just saw 2 people get killed, and I swear, bro is running out of here like he's one of the kids running the mile who didn't care about their grade in PE. My guy is taking a gingerly stroll. Why aren't you sprinting away? Las Arañas, who are local legends who have spider powers, come to save Constance, but they end up only being able to save her baby because, yes, she was pregnant while she was researching spiders in the Amazon right before she died. This first scene perfectly establishes establishes the completely insane, idiotic, goofy tone that the rest of the movie is going to have. It really is the complete package, filled with laughable CGI, first draft script dialogue, terrible ADR, acting that can only be described as please consider a new profession, and much more. Just the whole shebang. We then cut to 2003, where Cassie Webb, Constance's daughter, is now a paramedic in New York City. Her best friend and partner is Ben Parker, who is about to be an uncle, and I cannot tell you how annoying it is to have the movie constantly making references and allusions to Peter Parker and his story. The movie establishes right away that Cassie is very socially awkward and does not like to be near people. Like, this little boy tries to give her a drawing of his family because she saved his mom, and she just, doesn't know how to process that information and starts acting like Mr. Krabs when he was trying to talk to Mrs. Puff for the first time.
Can't even fold it. It's like cardboard.
Fire.
Ben tells Cassie he's met someone, and when she asks for the girl's name, Ben just does not answer her for some reason, and somehow Cassie infers that that means that this is a serious relationship. Like, if it was more serious than his previous relationships, wouldn't that mean that he would be more likely to tell her the girl's name? That doesn't make any sense. It should be the other way around, if anything. Ben, why are you acting so weird? What, Disney won't let you guys mention Aunt May in this movie or something? It's so dumb because we all know who he's referring to, but it's like Peter and Aunt May's names are like Voldemort somehow, because the movie just constantly teases at these characters, but they just won't say their names for some reason. I really hate this movie's writing. Dude, no one who actually lives in this apartment and always uses this kitchen would walk all the way around this little island here. Why didn't she just walk in front of it? Why do I care so much about this little detail? I don't know. But I do. Cassie goes through an old suitcase with all of her things from Peru, and I guess Las Arañas, the spider tree people, just took her to get registered at a hospital and get her birth certificate and other documents and stuff. The next day, she's saving some guy trapped in a car on a bridge when she gets stuck in the car as it plummets into the water below. While under the water, Cassie takes hallucinogenics and it goes on some kind of crazy trip through mid-CGI land before she is dragged out of the water and resuscitated by Ben. So I guess dying somehow activated her powers. That's never really explained in this movie. Like, up until this point, she never showed any signs of having future seeing abilities, yet after this accident, she just has those powers now. Did she have to die to activate those powers? Why did she get the powers when her mom was the one who got bit by the spider? Is the spider's toxin like alcohol, and it can affect your baby too? Constance got bitten like 10 seconds before she gave birth though. So did the venom somehow infect Cassie with superpowers in that amount of time? Did Ezekiel also have to die to unlock his powers too? Did all of the Arañas in the Amazon need to die before they got their powers? Why is this so stupid? Who made this movie? Regardless, Cassie can now see the future, but she does not have control of her powers yet, nor does she fully realize that she has them, so she is really confused to start out. After this, we jump to Ezekiel Sims in the most fire fit you have ever seen in your entire life, pulling up to the opera house. Better hide your girl, boys. This dude can rizz up any woman just by looking at her. He uses his god-tier rizz tactics to bag an older woman, and while in bed, he has a terrifying nightmare. In his dream, Sims gets his keister handed to him by 3 Spider-Women who eventually kick him out of a window and kill him. Dude, wait, what? I thought Spider-Man doesn't kill people. Aren't these girls supposed to be the good guys?
We are supposed to be the good guys.
I'm not gonna lie though, this scene feels like it's straight out of a CW production, bro. The choreography, if you can even call it that, is goofy as all heck. It's so very obvious that these actresses either don't know how to fight or are just prevented from demonstrating competent techniques because of the awful choreography.
Where's my spider? They took my spider.
Dude, Ezekiel Sims is just a total legend, bro. Every time this man speaks, it's comedy gold. If you showed me this scene out of context, I would have legitimately thought that it was supposed to be a parody that was meant to be laughed at and not taken seriously. Like, this would have actually made for a really good scene in a comedy movie. But unfortunately, this goofiness is very much unintentional. Anyways, Ezekiel tells his date about how he has had this exact same dream every night, that he is going to be murdered by 3 girls, so he plans on killing them first. The lady apparently worked for the National Security Agency, and they had been working on this technology that can access every camera on the planet and identify people by their faces, which was super impressive back in 2003. The lady realizes that Ezekiel targeted her for this reason, but before she can pull a gun on him, he grabs a hold of her and poisons her through just his touch. He demands that she gives him her password, and she eventually does, but he just kills her anyways. Guys, I'm sorry I keep doing this, but this movie is so stupid that I really feel compelled. Like, I have no choice but to point out stuff like this. Why does Ezekiel get a premonition about how he is going to die? Apparently, he got the physical powers from the spider, like superhuman strength and the ability to poison people, but he does not have the ability to see the future. Except he can see the future, but only like this one time, because the plot doesn't work unless he can see into this one specific event. But then, spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, that event never even ends up taking place. So maybe it was just actually like a bad dream that he had a lot of times in a row, and it wasn't a premonition somehow. Cassie goes to Ben's sister-in-law's baby shower for unnamed baby whose name is definitely not Peter Parker, and one of the games the girls play is guess the name of Mary's baby. Cassie experiences her powers again, which confuses her, and right before Mary can say the name of her baby, a balloon pops and interrupts her, and we never end up hearing the name. Dude, this is not cute or funny. It's very annoying. Why do they keep making blatant references to Spider-Man things, but just won't go all the way with them? There's a huge fire in this random firework warehouse for some reason, so Cassie and Ben get called in, and while on the job, Cassie sees the future where her boss, O'Neill, dies in a car accident. She tries to warn him, but he ignores her plea and ends up dying. So now Cassie feels really guilty and helpless because she tried to intervene, but she couldn't change the future. However, in practically the next scene, she sees a bird die by hitting her window, but then she opens the window so that the bird doesn't die, so now she has a renewed outlook on her powers and decides to go to O'Neill's funeral. I just want to say that Cassie's powers are so stupidly ill-defined and lack any logical patterns or reason. They just randomly happen whenever the plot needs them to. Sometimes they'll look like Cassie is tripping off the galaxy gas, and other times they'll look completely normal until she snaps back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. There is no rhyme or reason to them, and it makes it extremely hard to get invested in the story, or feel like there's any kind of logical thread to follow with this story. If the audience thinks that the powers in your narrative are a jumbled mess that makes no sense, then why would they care about those powers or feel a sense of satisfaction when those lazy, ill-defined powers lead to something happening? Meanwhile, Ezekiel hires some goober off of Fiverr to run this super advanced program for him, and guys, I swear, the next part is totally not going to be one of the dumbest things you have ever seen. Okay, so stay with me here. The Fiverr goober somehow recreates the faces of these 3 girls based on Ezekiel's descriptions of them, and it's not like a sketch drawing. She somehow manifests these AI-generated images that all look exactly like the girls in Ezekiel's dreams. Then, despite the fact that these girls are all wearing masks to conceal their identity, Secretary Lady pulls some magic BS program out of her cheeks that can somehow de-age the digital recreations of these girls, but since she doesn't know when Ezekiel's vision is, she guesstimates about how old the girls could be and uses the program to de-age them by 10 years, and somehow the result is the exact pictures of all 3 of these girls currently. Now, before you can call cap on this, allow me to summarize what just happened. So, the picture-perfect, exact images of these girls is based on computer-generated faces that were based on a word-of-mouth testimony with no visual template that was was then put through a de-aging program that digitally de-aged the girls in the original digital recreation by a random amount of time that also had to digitally fill in details because the original digital recreation had details that were obscured by the masks, and somehow all of those digital recreations led to images that look identical to how the girls currently look in 2003.
Here's what they should look like now.
Like that's ever gonna happen. What a logic.
This secretary lady basically played a digital recreation game of Telephone and somehow got a flawless result. How is this even possible? I know that this is supposed to be a lighthearted superhero movie that doesn't need to make complete logical sense, but how am I supposed to be expected to just ignore such a wildly idiotic concept? Really, how can someone watch this movie and take what we just saw seriously? So now, armed with the most accurate, reliable, 100% foolproof information, Ezekiel's secretary is able to find all of the girls in the subway station, so Ezekiel goes there to kill them all. However, Cassie is also on the train that has all the girls, and she has a vision that Ezekiel will kill these girls, so she yells at them to leave the train, and they escape Ezekiel in the nick of time. But right when they think they're safe, Cassie notices a man in a stupid black Spider-Man suit crawling on the ceiling towards them, and the group runs away. Bruh, Ezekiel's costume looks like he got a symbiote Spider-Man suit from a sketchy flea market in a third world country. The word bootleg does not even begin to describe how amateurish this suit looks. Honestly, it looks like a half-effort, lazy DIY cosplay costume that someone would put together 3 minutes before leaving for Comic-Con. He begins to chase the girls and takes out numerous cops within seconds in a highly efficient, tactical manner. Sure, hope he doesn't just fight like this against meaningless side characters, and then when he fights the main characters, he acts like an oafish idiot who moves super slowly and doesn't just kill them right away like he did to all of these officers. But no, I'm sure that won't happen. That only happens in like really bad movies, and this is Madam Web we're talking about. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that Ezekiel will definitely be this powerful and threatening when he fights against Cassie and the girls later in the movie. Anyways, Cassie steals a taxi and plans to take the girls back to their parents' houses, but the girls all give excuses as to why their parents aren't home, and then she overhears on the radio that everyone thinks she kidnapped the 3 girls because earlier in the subway, one of the girls, Julia, yelled out that Cassie was abducting them. Yeah, I guess not a single soul saw the black Spider-Man dude take out a dozen cops in the middle of the subway. Guess all the cops who fought him died from their injuries too, since any of them would have easily been able to identify that there was a weird black Spider-Man guy there and clear up the confusion. Cassie doesn't want to be arrested, so she takes the girls to the middle of nowhere and leaves them there while she goes back home to see if there's more to these spider shenanigans, since Ezekiel climbing on the ceiling reminded her of her mom, who you may remember was in the Amazon researching spiders right before she died. While walking to her apartment door, the people editing this movie were either so lazy or so incompetent that they have her pulling her keys out of her pocket in 2 different shots.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something.
We don't care.
Cassie sees Ezekiel with her mom in one of these pictures. May I ask why someone was taking a picture of Constance taking pictures of spider webs? Did Constance hire a photographer to make a scrapbook out of the memories she had while in the Amazon while she was researching spiders right before she died?
Las Arañas. Have you ever heard of Las Arañas? Me neither.
During this whole scene, Cassie talks out loud to the stray cat in her house, and it's very obviously just a device the movie uses so she can give a verbal exposition dump to the audience. I have no doubt it was from a lack of caring as well as an awkward script, but Dakota Johnson's performance in this movie, and in this scene in particular, is just horrible. She sounds like she's not even trying to act, and it's painfully noticeable.
They possess powers derived from spider venom. They can climb like spiders.
Also, Cassandra reads about how Las Arañas can climb trees and walls, so she randomly decides to try to climb a wall for no reason, and I swear the movie plays the cheesiest, most cliche tension-building music known to mankind leading up to her sliding off the wall. Like, the only way that could have been more cheesy was if they used the iMovie suspense sound effect instead. The girls think Cassie is not coming back, and they start to get hungry, so they go to a nearby diner, and some random trucker guy there recognizes them from a newspaper article talking about the 3 missing girls, which, what? How is there already a front-page news article in syndication about that event right now? Anyways, he informs the police that he has spotted the girls. However, Ezekiel, using his magical technology, patches into the police radio and pretends to be an officer who checked out the location and identifies that these were not the girls they were looking for. Cassie pulls up to the spot, sees the girls are missing, and somehow uses plot convenience to find them at the diner, but before she can do anything else, Ezekiel shows up and attacks. He beats up this random patron who didn't even do anything for some reason. Like, this guy is just sitting here and he doesn't even make an attempt to stop Ezekiel or do anything, and Ezekiel just randomly beats him up and kills him for no reason. Like, okay. And after that, he does his best Star Wars The Clone Wars impression and snaps Julia's neck on a bar stool. Cassie tries to stop him, but gets wrecked. Maddie tries to escape, but he chokes her and kills her using his poison. And when Cassie tries to attack him with a knife, Ezekiel swipes it and stabs her. Thank the Lord, this movie is finally over. Yeah, no, unfortunately, my misery is prolonged. Turns out that this was all fake news. Cassie had a vision of what the future would be like, so this time, when Ezekiel enters the diner, she drives the taxi through the wall and right into him. Ezekiel grabs her hand, but she's able to break free of his grip and escape. Cassie chews them all out for leaving the hiding spot, and they all rent a room at a hotel and stay there for the night. Before we move on, I have to talk about this. So during this scene, Britney Spears' song Toxic is playing on the radio, and there is one part where the 3 girls are dancing on a table where all these high school basketball boys are sitting at, and because the music is diegetic, which means that the characters in the world can hear it as well, they are dancing to the song, and while they are dancing, all the boys chant along with the song, but none of them know or seem to know what the lyrics are. So they just randomly, weirdly murmur the lyrics of the song, and for some reason, I just find this one moment so hilariously funny. I am not lying. While editing this video, I rewatched that one segment 10 times. I found it so funny. Was it a huge waste of time to talk about this 1-second clip where these boys awkwardly mumble a song? Maybe. But with how much I have had to suffer, how much torture I have had to endure by watching these moronic movies, I think I deserve to fixate on this silly little clip and have a good hearty laugh. So, as I play it one more time, have a good hearty laugh with me, fellas. Please help me. Because this is a really bad, stupid movie, all 3 of the girls have essentially been estranged from their families for different reasons, so Cassie can't just take them back to their parents, and Anya's dad was deported, so she can't go to the police. So they all just decide to stay at the hotel for now. Cassie goes back to the diner for some reason, and her and Ezekiel are able to speak with each other telepathically somehow. Remember when I said that this movie has no defined established rules for the powers in it, so they just randomly change and fluctuate whenever the movie and plot need them to do so? Yeah, grade A example of what I was talking about. Allow me to reiterate, Ezekiel supposedly never got these mind powers. He only got the physical gifts from the spider, yet because the movie needs him to have mental powers now, he all of a sudden does, but he only uses them this one time in this one scene just to have a conversation with Cassie for some reason. And why does Cassie need to come to the diner in order to have this mind-to-mind talk with Ezekiel? None of this makes any sense, bro.
Those girls cannot exist.
How come you get to decide?
Because I'm the one with the powers.
The power within! Yeah!
Who wrote this dialogue, dude? What kind of goofiness is this? Why does him having the powers mean that he can decide? What kind of qualification is that?
In the future, they also have powers.
The girls have powers in the future?
Yes, bro. The girls have powers in the future. That's literally what he just said. Dude, the writing in this scene is somehow a whole tier lower than even this movie's standards, and the editing is super weird and uncanny and distracting, and it clearly tries to hide a ton of ADR, but just does a bad job at doing so. Anyways, it turns out that Cassie never actually went to Fredbear's family diner. It was just a vision the whole time, and afterwards she teaches the girls CPR just in case they need to use it later on because Ezekiel can poison people. Following this, Cassie drops the girls off with Ben while she goes to the Peruvian Amazon to search for answers or something like that. And Ben just agrees to house and hide these 3 random teenage girls for an unknown amount of time, no questions asked. Sure, that's realistic. Cassie uses her mom's book to find the spot where she found the spider, and the random Las Arañas guy who helped deliver Cassie in the cave finds her and takes her back to that cave.
Do you trust me?
Brother, you are a complete rando who she just met in the jungle like 2 minutes ago. What do you think? He shoves Cassie into the pool, and now she can see somehow into the past before she was even born, and she sees Ezekiel kill her mom and sees her own birth. Then somehow out of nowhere, her powers reveal to her a meeting her mom had with a doctor before Constance went to the Amazon to research spiders right before she died, and in the meeting, the doctor tells Constance that her baby had a rare birth defect that would cut her life short. Constance decides to go to the Amazon to research spiders right before she died in order to find the rare spiders there, which apparently have the ability to heal people too, so she could try to save her baby's life. Bro, these spiders are just the most stupid, convenient plot device ever. It's like a Marvel's version of Vibranium or something. The spiders can give people physical powers, they can also like give people mental superpowers, but they can also like heal people. It's just so dumb, bro. Cassie now forgives her mom because she always thought her mom hated her since she would decide to research spiders in the Amazon right before she died when she was 9 months pregnant, but now, because of the super convenient writing, she now understands that her mom did it all for her. And now, because she dealt with her past trauma, she can somehow control her powers now, which is really convenient and dumb, but let's not think about it too much and just move on.
And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
He said it! He said it!
Dude, please just stop with these lame as quack references, bro. It's not cool. It's just really dumb. Mary Parker's water breaks, so Ben has to take the girls with him to the hospital for some reason, even though he could just, leave them here at the house. But he takes the girls with him, and the Secretary of Stupidity finds them using the super secret spyware program, and Ezekiel heads off to kill them. Cassie gets to the house right after they all leave, and she steals a nearby ambulance to chase after them. The girl Ezekiel hired off of Fiverr can now just, hack the traffic lights somehow, and she turns them all green and traps Ben's car in the middle of an intersection. Ezekiel activates a bomb and intends to blow them all up, but Cassie does her best Luke Hobbs impression and crashes the ambulance through a second-story wall and hits Ezekiel with it. Ezekiel could have easily avoided this attack by just literally standing still or ducking, but because he chooses to jump up, he gets directly hit by the ambulance that would have otherwise missed him. What an idiot, bro. I also love how the film just chooses the cut here right before Ezekiel jumped because they didn't bother to CGI him jumping super high, so they just have to cut it early. This legit looks like something my friends and I would have done for a movie we would have made for fun when we were in middle school. And yet, this is somehow in an $100 million production. Cassie and the girls go to the firework warehouse from earlier, and using flares from the ambulance, Cassie and the girls light up multiple crates full of fireworks to set up a death trap for Ezekiel. Using her future-seeing abilities, Cassie is able to successfully navigate the ground all around the random firework explosions, and the group makes their way to the roof.
Whoa! Now you're really showing off!
Bruh, this is the most fake wall I have ever seen in my entire life. Earlier in the ambulance, Cassie had called an airlift to the building, so they try to make their way to the helicopter, but after some idiotic tomfoolery, fraudulent Spider-Man knocks a stray firework into the helicopter and it crashes.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, mate.
Cassie uses the web to be in 3 places at once and saves the girls, but then Ezekiel, after just watching her for 15 seconds, remembers that he can actually move and hits her. So remember how Ezekiel took out 10 cops in 5 seconds with deadly precision. Well, now when he is fighting Cassie, he just slowly moves towards her and fights like he's an uncoordinated doofus.
But the girls were never your future. I was.
Bruh, then what about his premonition? Are you telling me he just happened to have the same bad dream every night, but it wasn't actually a vision of the future? It was just like a regular nightmare? I don't know, and honestly, I don't care at this point, much like every single person working on this movie. Ezekiel falls off the roof and gets crushed by a giant pea in literally the most goofy way possible, like legitimately, like actually the single most goofiest way possible. Like this death is straight up a parody, complete with the drawn out "no," and then like it zooms out and he's like dead on the ground and you can see his face through the little hole in the pea. Yeah. Cassie falls into the water and a firework hits her in the face, but she is saved by the 3 girls who use CPR to revive her.
Are you all immediate family?
They're all mine.
Bro, what did this nurse even come in here to do? She just showed up, asked if they were all immediate family, and then left right after. What? Like, why did you even come into the room? What was the point?
Are you all immediate family?
I can be wherever I want, nurse.
The movie ends with the 3 girls hanging out with Cassie and Cassie seeing their superhero futures. This sequence reuses footage from Spider-Man 2 for some reason.
Standing up for what you believe.
Maddie yells while throwing her fists forward, but she doesn't actually hit anybody and it just looks really weird.
Never giving up.
This guy who Julia fights gets so spooked by her showing up that he just full sprints into a couch and falls in the most over-dramatic way possible. The movie finally ends with all of our heroes posing on top of a roof and Dakota Johnson saying one of the stupidest lines I have ever heard in any movie ever.
And you know the best thing about the future? It hasn't happened yet.
This legit sounds like it was some kind of made-up proverb from a 4th-rate fortune cookie, bro. And that was Madam Web. By golly, Miss Molly, what a dumpster fire of a film. Morbius was really bad, don't get me wrong, but Madam Web is actually so bad that it might honestly be one of the top 10 worst movies I have ever seen in my life. It's kind of hard to properly convey just how much this movie sucked, and before we move on to the last film in our trifecta of trash, I want to go back and play a montage of some of my favorite clips and lines throughout the movie, so enjoy.
These little spiders have the potential to cure hundreds of diseases.
Do you need a tissue?
No, I need a cure. I'm sorry. What are you offering besides tissues?
Nothing! You have no idea of the torment and torture of dying over and over again.
Tell me these events can yet be changed.
Hate to break it to you, Scrooge, but you can't change anything.
I came from nothing. I will not give up everything I've built and have my life cut short.
What? But you guys, he was crawling on the ceiling. What about that guy?
Where's my spider? They took my spider.
Just, you know, be, like a Girl Scout girl. Be that. Just be that.
What?
Your futures were almost so different. You're lucky I saw them.
Don't look at them!
Are you all immediate family?
Yes.
All right, I'm out.
Who flips off an ambulance?
I went to a lot of trouble to steal you these tools. Use them better. Those girls cannot exist.
How come you get to decide?
Because I'm the one with the powers.
And this gives you power over me?
There are some promising leads in the Amazon.
That's why you went there? For me?
For you.
Las Arañas.
¿Cuáles son tus nombres?
Hey, am I on the right train?
I don't know, man.
The only thing I know is that in the future, they also have powers.
Powers?
Powers. Power. 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 Powers. Did you think you could beat me with your mind?
Yeah, probably.
Either I peed myself or my water broke.
Well, honestly, you probably peed yourself.
They're teenagers now, but in the future, they have powers.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
If you're enjoying this review, then I would really appreciate it if you left a like and subscribed. It's free to you and means the world to me, and at the end of a long, tiring, miserable day of talking about garbage movies, it really makes it all worth it at the end of the day to see the support I get from you guys. So if you want to see more reviews like this, I would definitely recommend you sub and turn on those notifications. Now that I've had a little break, let's finish reviewing the last movie on my naughty list, Kraven. Kraven the Hunter is the final film in the Sony Spider-Man movies without any Spider-Man Universe, and it was such a huge, monumental, Oppenheimer type of box office bomb that it basically fatality'd the dying universe and banished it to the Shadow Realm forever. Now, at least Kraven the Hunter is somewhat near the top of the list I would have if you asked me to make a movie about a Spider-Man villain, so we're already off to a better start than the previous two entries there. But by the time old Kraven reared his head in theaters, there was about as much hype for another Sony Spider-Man movie as there would be for another entry in M. Night Shyamalan's live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender franchise. So it's not really a surprise that no one really cared about nor showed up to watch this movie, but how does it compare to the previous two films that we looked at? Let's find out. The movie opens in media res with Kraven going to a prison and stirring up some trouble so he can meet a crime boss who is running operations from in there. He uses his superhuman abilities to kill the bad guy, escape prison, and board a plane that's waiting for him in a blizzard. We find out that Kraven is exactly what his moniker would imply, a hunter, and he hunts down evil people like that crime boss and kills them. The first scene is actually pretty decent by all means, not spectacular, but not goofy trash like Madam Web's opening. So far, Kraven is off to a pretty good start. Hope it keeps up the good work. We then get a flashback to when Sergei, Kraven, is a teen. He goes to school with his younger brother Dmitri, and they get picked up one day by their father, who tells them that their mother has died.
Kravinoff and Kravinoff! Your father is coming to pick you up!
Is it just me, or does this guy deliver his line in the most unnatural, awkward way possible? So the first thing Nikolai Kravinoff wants to do now that his wife has died is go hunting, because he didn't really care about his wife after she went sick in her mind. His words, not mine. And because he is super obsessed with hunting for some reason, he just wants to go hunting like right now. He wants to go hunt this specific legendary lion who I will refer to as Mufasa from now on, because he wants to become a legend by killing this legend, and he wants to teach his sons about hunting on the trip, so that's why he brings them with him. Meanwhile, in the same African plains, a young girl named Calypso is visiting her grandma with her family. Her grandma sees her playing with some of her magic cards and immediately starts exposition dumping about how the cards can read the future, how Calypso will need this magic potion that can heal people in undreamed of ways, and how she comes from a long line of powerful women. This lady just exists to move the plot forward. She is an exposition fountain. Every single word out of her mouth is just exposition. And that isn't even an exaggeration. Literally every single word she speaks is for exposition's sake and nothing more. She also just talks in like the most unnatural way too.
There is great danger in that card. I have something for you, Calypso.
Like, bro, who actually transitions a conversation like that? 1 second, you're talking about how dangerous this card is, and then out of nowhere, you just immediately say, I have something for you, Calypso. Her accent and mannerisms are just uncomfortable and unnatural as well. Overall, this is just a terrible scene. Everyone acts in super weird, unnatural ways just to make sure that the rest of the story can happen. And this Krabby Patty secret formula Granny Ma gives to Calypso is the dumbest thing I have seen since the movie Madam Web. What does undreamed of even mean? Like, where does this come from? what's even going on in this movie anymore. So while Nikolai is hunting, some random goon who is a part of their hunting group asks him if he wants to be crime partners with him, and Nikolai reminds this loser that he is a nobody and literally has nothing to offer the Kravinoff family that would even make him consider an alliance, and then it tells him to scrap. During the hunt, Sergei and Dmitri get separated from the group for a little bit, and before they know it, Mufasa shows up and starts growling at them like it's the start of an MGM produced movie. Sergei doesn't shoot the lion, but his father does, and this provokes Mufasa into attacking Sergei and nearly killing him. Mufasa is an absolute beast and just walks off 3 shots before carrying Sergei away. Meanwhile, Calypso and her family stand in front of a CGI background while her mom looks through a camera lens that shows her stock video of a giraffe eating. Calypso decides to say, I'ma head out, and she just randomly walks into the middle of the wilderness and happens to come across Sergei and Mufasa. Mufasa dumps the body and leaves, and Calypso gives Sergei the magic potion that has super ill-defined powers that comes from a completely unknown source that never gets explained or clarified ever in the entire movie. This somehow not only heals him, but later we see that he gets animal powers too from this potion. Or like maybe it was the potion combined with the fact that like a drop of Mufasa's blood fell into one of his open wounds, and that might have also given him the animal powers. Again, we don't know. It's very sloppy and undefined, which is just the way the writers like it, so that they can bend Kraven's powers and abilities to whatever the plot needs them to be without breaking established rules or limitations. After his miraculous recovery, Sergei's dad wants him to stay with him in Europe and learn the family business so that he can take over it one day, and he shows Sergei the head of Mufasa because he thinks that it will make him happy to see that the lion who almost killed him is dead. Instead, Sergei says that it should have killed his father, and he gets mad and locks himself in his room and decides to run away later that night. Since, very conveniently, right before this conversation, Sergei read the last letter his mom ever sent to him, and in it she tells him to not become a man of crime like his father. Obviously, Dmitri feels really betrayed by this, and he wants to leave with Sergei, but Sergei doesn't let him and just leaves him behind with their dad.
You know there's planes and trains for that, don't you? You on the run? Yes. Come on then.
So you find out that this kid is on the run, potentially from law enforcement, and that is what makes you decide to just randomly let him aboard your ship? Why? Anyways, Sergei hitchhikes his way all the way out to an old campsite his family used to vacation at, and he decides to live there. Oh, also, really quick, before I forget to mention, he has like a special connection with animals now, like a falcon leads him on his journey, and this random buffalo guy protects him from getting run over. So now, on top of being a wildcat, he also has like the land version of Aquaman's powers or something. Really gotta love those super vague, lazy, undefined powers, bro. So one day, Sergei sees these random poacher goons killing buffalo for their horns, and he decides to go over there and just straight up murder 2 of these guys. Like, sheesh. Bro went from running away because he didn't want to become a murderous crime boss like his dad to immediately killing these 2 goons, no questions asked. Like, sure, they were bad people, but you just immediately turned into a murderer, dude. Like, no small build-up. You actually just went from soft Sergei who didn't want to shoot a lion to stabbing one guy in the eye and beating the other to death with your bare hands. Alright, now that the 30-minute flashback is over, we return to present day. Kraven sees some more poachers, and again, he graphically and brutally kills most of them, but the main guy gets away. In this short action scene, we get to see more of Kraven's abilities. He has superhuman strength and athleticism, and he has the cliche movie zoom-in vision, but I guess it sort of makes sense this time because it's like Falcon vision or something. And if you recall, he is like a wildcat now and has some animal abilities or something like that. Yeah, I still have no idea what he can and can't do exactly. He tracks down the guy who got away and kills him and his evil crime boss, and adds the names of the crime boss's contacts to his naughty list. I know this is a movie and we aren't really supposed to question things like this, but how did Kraven break into this building, kill this powerful crime guy and this other dude in broad daylight with such an obvious and unique weapon in a crossbow, and no one was able to figure out who killed these guys? Like, are there no no security cameras or people who just saw this big guy with a huge crossbow walk through this office building? How can he just do this in the middle of a busy office building and then casually walk out with a crossbow and not get caught? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Anyways, Calypso attends the funeral of one of her colleagues / mentors who got killed by the same Russian crime boss Kraven killed at the beginning of the movie, and Kraven is there and reveals to her that he is the boy she helped save all those years ago, and that he got revenge for her by killing the mob boss. Apparently, he tracked her down through just the single card that she left with him when he was nearly killed, which sounds almost impossible, but they do hype up Kraven to be this world-class tracker who can find anybody and bring them to justice. So, what does Kraven, the world's best tracker of all time, do in the very next scene? He immediately asks for Calypso's help, using her lawyer contacts in the crime world to track down the new bad guys on the list that he acquired that he is not able to find. Bro, what? That is so contradictory and stupid. Why do you set up Kraven as this master tracker in one scene, and then literally in the next scene, he is asking this random lawyer lady for help finding these people that he can't track? That doesn't make any sense. If he needs help tracking these guys, then why would you go out of your way to establish that he is an insanely skilled tracker? That just seems like total BS now, because one of the first things this super tracker does is ask for help tracking people, because apparently he is not good enough to find all these dudes on his own. She doesn't like the fact that Kraven kills people, so she tells him that she'll think about it, and the two go their separate ways. In the next scene, we finally get introduced to He's that same loser guy from earlier in the movie who randomly wanted to be partners with Nikolai Kravenov.
One more thing.
Dude, I have no idea why this guy says one more thing. Literally, all he said prior to this was, we need to talk about this. But he and Rhino never talked about anything that whole time because he was too busy playing with his dog, so this guy never had a conversation with Rhino in the first place, which makes it really weird that he would say one more thing, like he did already speak with Rhino when he didn't. He tells Rhino about the Hunter, an urban legend vigilante who has been killing crime lords and evil powerful people, and he tells Rhino that this Hunter has a list of names, and if your name is on that list, there is no way off. Then, I kid you not, this is really what happens next. The Rhino's henchman guy says that Rhino is probably on the list, so they should go find this Hunter guy and kill him first before he gets to them. You heard me correctly. The Rhino's entire motivation in this movie to go after Kraven is the fact that maybe he might possibly be on this list, but he doesn't know for sure, so he decides to just try to find this guy who he doesn't even know exists for sure, and just kill him before that guy might possibly, maybe, eventually come after him someday. Huh? Like what? Are you kidding me? Is that the actual motivation for Rhino in this movie? The only reason him and Kraven come into conflict is because Kraven kills evil people on his list, and Rhino is an evil guy, and there is some sort of chance that he might possibly be on that list, so he decides to try to find Kraven first. I'm sorry, but that is just an embarrassingly stupid motivation. That is so flawed and so dumb on so many levels. But hey, what else do you expect from the same writers who wrote Morbius and Madam Web? And no, I am not joking, all three of these movies had the same writers, and yes, I think that they should be banned from ever writing another script again. So because the crime guy died at the beginning, Rhino sets up a meeting with his top 3 guys and asks them which one of them will be his partner, as he intends to assume control of the former crime lord's operations. Again, I don't know why he is so obsessed with partners. This is the second time in the movie he asks someone to be his partner, and I promise you it will not be the last. They wonder why he is called the Rhino, and he shows them by removing this tube from his body, which causes him to get thick gray skin and super strength. Bro, if this was the reason he was known as the Rhino, I am very sure that everyone who knew that his name was the Rhino would have known about this. Like, that's just not something that people forget to mention when they say, oh, this guy's called the Rhino. Like, you would mention that immediately if that was the reason. If that was the reason he was called the Rhino, that would be like the first thing I would talk about. He has snipers kill off the guards, and the last two men standing are presented with a choice to be his partner or die. So one of them kills off the other and becomes his partner. Somebody start a counter for every time I say partner in this review. Anyways, Rhino's partner has a meeting with Nikolai, who also wants control of the now dead mob boss's operations, but when the partner man starts to just automatically agree with everything Nikolai says and starts acting really sus, Nikolai realizes that it's a trap and his club gets shot up. He survives and is disappointed in his son Dimitri for not protecting him because he is soft and a wimp. Oh, should also mention really quick that Dimitri has this impossible thing he can do where he can sound like anyone he wants. He uses it to sing like famous musicians at his dad's club, and it's never explained how he can just supernaturally alter his voice to sound exactly like other people, but don't question it, he just can for some reason.
The Kraven hit failed. All of our guys are dead.
Okay. Well, right after whatever that was, Rhino's right-hand man tells him that he found this random flash drive slipped under his door, so they decide to plug it in, and on it is the following video.
I know the way. Do you know the way?
What is this?
Okay, but actually on the drive is this video.
What are you reading?
Nothing really. Just
What are you reading?
Oh, well. This can be real. Can it?
Okay, but seriously, actually this time, on the drive is footage from a security camera from the prison where Kraven escaped from, and the footage reveals through a facial scan that the hunter who killed the crime boss was none other than Sergei Kravenov. This is so stupid in so many different ways, and rather than just glancing past this little silly moment in the movie, I am going to go all in on destroying this short segment just because I want to. First of all, are you still on this crazy panic fantasy about maybe being on Kraven's list? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the Rhino and Kraven have no quarrel. The only reason Rhino even thinks about going after Kraven is because there's a chance that maybe, possibly, he could be on Kraven's list, and at some point Kraven might, maybe, potentially come after him at some point. Secondly, yeah, let's just take this drive that some unknown goon slipped under my door and plug it into one of our computers, no questions asked. And another thing, why would they just randomly believe that all of this information that they have no way of verifying is real? For all they know, Sergei is not actually the hunter, and someone might just want him dead. So they sent the Rhino a fake video of Sergei breaking out of this prison. Or how can they even verify that the man in this video is Sergei? Because the video on its own did facial recognition that they have no way of knowing is legit? How did the person who sent them this video know that Rhino was thinking about going after the hunter, and so if they sent him the security camera video, then he would go after him? Was it a lucky guess, or just like a super lucky coincidence? Why is the security camera in this bummy rundown prison just look like the exact same shot from earlier in the movie but with a filter thrown on it? Like, what kind of super expensive, very obviously handheld film security camera is this? You guys couldn't even be bothered to film this from a proper security camera angle and use an actual security camera and then use that grainy footage? You had to just be as lazy as possible and reuse footage from the film and just put a filter over it and call it a day? Such a dumb movie, bro. The Rhino asks his guy if this could be real, and his henchman tells him that he's not sure, so he sends this hitman named the Foreigner to investigate it, since apparently the Foreigner has been super obsessed with the hunter for years. I like how the movie just gives away that these lines about putting the Foreigner on the case are totally ADR by just choosing super weird angles where you can't see the Rhino's mouth while he's talking. It wouldn't be a Sony Spider-Man movie without terrible ADR, now would it? In the next scene, we meet the Foreigner, who finds the tiger tooth Kraven used to kill the crime time boss in the beginning, and then he gets confronted by a guard and uses his OP lag powers to kill him. Like, actually, wait, what? This dude can just literally lag everyone around him and move around while they're stuck, as long as he has eye contact with them or something like that. Once again, they don't really explain his powers at all. How can this guy ever lose? Like, he should not be able to ever lose a fight if he has the power to just freeze people in place. Anyways, Kraven very subtly breaks into his brother's apartment and surprises him for his birthday. Apparently, he comes by to check on Dimitri every year for his birthday, and the two go out to the Kravinoff Club to celebrate. Papa Kravinoff shows up, and the three toast Dimitri.
Pour for men, not for boys.
Dude, not only is this line funny, but Dimitri totally still pours for boys, bro. Like, I don't care how strong this alcohol is, if this is enough for men, then we would probably need a microscope to see the portion for boys. Kraven and Dimitri get back home from their night out, and Kraven can't sleep inside because he is too used to being a wild man, so he sleeps outside on the grass. When he comes back the next morning, he discovers that Dimitri has been kidnapped, so he springs into action to save him. Sheesh, bro, what did that potion do to him? He just took a 60-foot fall like it was nothing, bro. What animal power is that? Kraven chases after the kidnappers, and what ensues is actually a fairly thrilling chase sequence. The action is intense, the scene is well choreographed and shot, and overall, it's just a good action chase scene. Despite a valiant effort, the kidnappers get away, so Kraven goes to Calypso's job and asks her for help. He describes the main guy to her, and she calls one of her contacts and tells him to find this guy. Kraven's dad calls him in and tells him that the kidnappers want 20 million in 48 hours or they will kill Dimitri. Kraven tells him to pay, but because Nikolai is obsessed with being a man and not looking weak, he refuses to pay.
Dimitri is innocent. You let him die, his blood is on your hands.
Why does Kraven's voice drop like 5 octaves for this one line and then go back to normal? Was he burping while he said this or something? Dimitri mocks this thug by mimicking his voice, so the guy hits him, and is it just me, or in the history of cinema, has there ever been a time where a character gets punked, half laughs and smiles while looking away, and then doesn't strike the person who punked them? Then the scene just ends. That was it. That was all that happened. Literally the only reason that was in the movie was to remind you that Dimitri can do that voice thing. What a waste of screen time. Calypso meets her contact, who gives her the info for the guy she was looking for. I have no idea how he found this exact guy based on a brief description given to him from a secondary source, but hey, I guess he's just that good at his job. Maybe he had the same secretary lady from Madam Web or something, and he could generate a profile just based off like a description, not even like a visual drawing, like not even a visual. All she had to do was describe to him what this guy looked like, and then he was able to make a profile that looked like exactly what the guy looked like, and then he was able to use that to facial scan the entire world and find this guy. I mean, I don't know, these are the same writers, so like maybe that's what he did, like who knows. It turns out that Rhino set up the whole thing and bribed Calypso's contact, but he randomly wants double the money he was supposed to get for some reason. Like, he actually doesn't give a real reason for this, he just says that because Calypso trusts him, he wants double. But bro, wasn't that the whole reason they hired you? Like, if she didn't trust you, then they wouldn't have hired you for this job. That is literally just a qualification for why you were hired in the first place. So how would that normal qualification now all of a sudden mean that they should pay you double? Do people in movies never understand, bro? Whenever you ask the bad guy for more than you were owed, or heck, sometimes even if you don't, they just kill you anyways, bro. Why would you try to irk these corrupt, evil people who have no problem just killing people? That's literally signing your death warrant, bro. If I were this guy, I would have responded, yeah, you're right, why not quadruple, and see if I could have finessed even more from this deal. Obviously, the foreigner uses his broken powers and kills this guy. Kraven pulls up to the Addy Calypso's contact gave her and stealthily goes around killing people with poison darts and sneaking around guards while he looks for Dimitri. He eventually gets found and it leads to a short fight in this dark hallway before ending with Kraven tackling this one guy through a wall. This was actually all a setup, and these guys from really far away shoot an RPG at Kraven, but he jumps off this cliff and survives the fall down along with the mercenary guy. I know it was a setup, but like, how did these guys know that Kraven was going to end up here? Like, exactly here. If he wasn't exposed on this side of the monastery wall, then they wouldn't have had a clear shot at him. Did Rhino just guess that Kraven would destroy a wall on this side of the monastery and leave himself exposed for a lethal attack? At the bottom of the cliff, Kraven demands to know who set him up, and because the mercenary guy thinks that they're both going to die from the falling debris, he tells him that it was Rhino, but of course we know that Kraven is going to somehow survive this, because remember guys, the potion gave him the undreamed of power of doing whatever he needs to in order for the plot to keep going. Yeah, that was the power. I remember the grandma said that, right? The foreigner shows up again and finds the dart Kraven used to take out one of these guys and is somehow able to immediately know what the toxin comprises of, and he plans on using that knowledge to track Kraven down. Rhino tries to buddy up with Dimitri despite kidnapping him, telling him that they met once on his father's hunting trip, but when Dimitri doesn't remember, Rhino tells him that his hair was different back then and that Dimitri was very young, so that's probably why he doesn't remember.
What?
Dude, Dimitri was like a young teenager on that trip. You're saying he was very young, like he was still an infant or a toddler or something like that. Sure, he was young during this trip, but not very young. I don't know, you basically just don't have a reason for saying you were very young. That's just not a logical excuse for why he wouldn't remember you. Bruh, Rhino looks like a perverted teacher calling a student over in this clip. He shows Dimitri the very realistic, totally 100% accurate, trust me bro source of Kraven escaping from the prison, and this time, for some reason, his facial scan is 99.9% of a match, instead of the 97.3 from last time. Yes, those two numbers change. I don't know why they just randomly change for some reason, but they do, so yeah, that's there.
Kraven had a list. Once you're on it, you never come off. So I went after him first.
Yeah, but bro, you're forgetting to mention the part where you had no flipping idea if you were even on the list or not. For all you know, you might have never been on the list. Kraven would have never come after you, and now, by going after him and kidnapping his brother, you just ensured that you are his #1 target. This is just such a dumb motivation. I hate these writers so much.
Bottom feeders! You don't even know talent! No talent! No talent! No talent!
So, to nobody's surprise, Kraven somehow survived this and is basically completely unscathed. I thought his strength was supposed to be on par with Spider-Man's, not Superman's. He calls Calypso and tells her that Rhino will probably be after her next, and while he is calling her, she sees 5 guys in suits walking in her building, and she just immediately says that they don't look like they belong here, and decides to just leave her job and go to this random airport Kraven told her about, where his pilot buddy is waiting to pick her up. Can I ask though, like, what about these guys was unusual or suspicious? It's literally just 5 guys walking in suits. Every man in this building is wearing a suit. How does that give away the fact that they are evil hitmen? That doesn't make any sense. Calypso takes another potion out of her desk and skips town.
I don't like the feel of this at all.
Bruh, I swear. Channing Tatum's Gambit must have been the dialogue coach for some of the characters in this movie. Why would you enunciate your sentences like this? I know you're trying to talk over the plane, but that doesn't make you sound completely goofy like this. Meanwhile, back with the Rhino, he tells Dimitri about how he became the Rhino. When he was younger, no one respected him because of his weakness and medical condition, so he found a kooky scientist in New York that was doing an experiment to increase someone's strength. However, the experiment went wrong and he developed a rhino-like exterior, which did give him superhuman strength, but I guess it really hurts for him to transform into it. So now he walks around with this little backpack full of a mixture of medicines that keeps his condition in check, that feeds him through this tube in his body. Dude, what kind of medicines even help cure whatever this is? Penicillin? Tylenol? What medicines are so effective at keeping your condition at bay that the second you remove them from your body, you instantly start to form scales and start becoming the Rhino? Regardless, Rhino wants Dimitri to be his partner since they were both underrated by others in their life, but Dimitri won't betray his family. There goes Rhino trying to find another partner for his class project again. Right before Rhino kills him, his right-hand henchman tells him that their men who went to recover Kraven's body aren't responding, and then another one of his thugs tells that guy that their Alpha and Bravo teams are down, so they think Kraven is here. However, it just turns out to be the Foreigner. Wait, wasn't he working with Rhino? Why would he randomly kill all of Rhino's men? The Foreigner reveals that his mentor was killed by Kraven a while ago, and ever since, he has wanted to track down Kraven and kill him as revenge. He says that his mentor was one of the best hitmen who ever lived, and taught him everything he knows, but like, did his mentor teach him the lag tactic thing too? How can the Foreigner do that? Are we just never going to get an explanation for that? The Foreigner tells Rhino that dissecting the toxin from Kraven's dart, he found this rare poison made from this rare pea that is somehow only native to this one random place where Kraven lives. So they know that he lives there now, and they decide to go bring the fight to him. Back with Kraven and Calypso, she tells Kraven that she took archery in middle school at a summer camp, and asks him why he has all of these flowers and potions and toxins. He tells her that he's been trying to recreate whatever was in her grandma's secret Krabby Patty formula, and asks her if she might happen to have any more, but she lies to him and says that there is no more.
I'm the greatest hunter on this planet, it's undeniable. Nobody I can't beat, there's nobody can even touch me.
Randomly, out of nowhere, Kraven just starts gassing himself up for some reason. Like, all that prompted this was Calypso asking if this was all worth it or not. She didn't even ask him if he really thought he was the best in the world or something like that. I don't know, it just comes across as really weird. Like, what she had just said should have never warranted that response from him, so the writers are just really bad at their jobs. The Foreigner tells Rhino that they'll need more than a gun to kill Kraven, and that this poison makes people see their worst nightmares, then brings on paralysis, followed by death. Honestly though, like, why do they even need any of that stuff? I'm pretty sure the Foreigner could just lag Kraven, grab a bomb, put it right next to him, walk far away, and then blow it up. Or just lag Kraven and shoot him a bunch of times. Like, with his power of literally just freezing people in place, it seems like there is no way anyone would be able to beat him. Bro, you're making this way more complicated than it needs to be. Just lag Kraven and then shoot him in the head. Game over. Rhino pulls over and calls Kraven, and I'll give you 1 second to guess what he does next. If you said he asks Kraven to be his partner, you got it right. I swear, bro, why is this guy so obsessed with having partners? Like, why does he care so much about partners? This is the 4th time in the movie that he has asked for someone to be his partner. Why do you need a partner so badly, my guy? Of course, Kraven says no, so the Rhino sends his men after him. Bear traps? Guys, what the heck? This is a supernatural hunter with unnatural instincts and heightened senses, not Yogi Bear. Why would you try to use bear traps to get him? That is just so goofy, bro. It's literally just so Kraven can use the bear traps on these guys instead. That's the only reason those are here, but whatever. Kraven had set up all these booby traps and kills all of Rhino's men, so then Rhino sends in a helicopter that he had brought with him, but we never saw nor heard that helicopter until right now, and then we never hear or see it again. So yeah, it just kind of shows up and then disappears, and it drops a bunch of bombs over Kraven in the woods.
You gotta be kidding.
Why did you need to randomly add that line there? You do all realize that Kraven doesn't even open his mouth during this shot, right? This is just needless, awful ADR for the sake of adding terrible ADR. There was no reason to try to force Kraven to say this. What are we doing here, fellas? Like, actually, what are we doing here? The bombs disorient Kraven enough to allow the foreigner to hit him with the scarecrow venom, and because Kraven is boofing the galaxy gas now, the foreigner's powers look even more trippy than they usually do. I still don't know why the foreigner doesn't just shoot him now, but I guess he wanted to get his revenge by beating up Kraven first. Rhino's henchmen show up and see that the foreigner is about to kill Kraven, but then they just leave right before he does it for some reason, and this allows Calypso to shoot the foreigner in the eye with an arrow. And because the foreigner shot the gun in reaction to getting shot in the eye, Rhino's goons think that he killed Kraven. This movie is starting to get to a level of stupidity that rivals Madam Web. Why would you guys leave right before confirming that Kraven was dead?
Spread out. Bring me his body, or don't come back.
It's over. Kraven's dead.
Bring me his body, or don't come back.
Kraven's dead.
Okay.
I know the foreigner told you to go find Dimitri, who escaped earlier in the scrap, but why not wait like 10 seconds, see the foreigner pull the trigger and kill Kraven, and then go do that? Why do movie bad guys always have to leave right before making sure that the hero is dead? And to make things even more stupid, even though that they think the foreigner is alive because they think he just killed Kraven and they don't know Calypso killed him, they don't even wait for the foreigner to get back to the car and just take off without him and leave him in the woods. What? Like, if you thought he was alive and had just killed the guy you were all hunting, then why would you leave before he got into the car? That doesn't make any sense. This movie is trying to outdo Madam Web for stupidest ending to a Sony Spiderman Universe movie, bro. Right now, it's actually competing with Venom 2 and Madam Web. Calypso gives Kraven a second dose of the Krabby Patty secret formula, and it heals him in undreamed of ways. Wait, so is he like twice as strong now? Does the potion stack on top of the previous one? Does he have more Wildcat animal powers now? Are his previous powers doubled? What exactly happens as a result of taking this magic potion 2 times? Are we just going to... Oh wait, never mind. They just completely ignored explaining any of this. Guess we gotta just blindly accept it now. No questions asked. Hooray! Kraven goes after the Rhino and uses his land Aquaman powers to send a herd of stampeding buffalo towards Rhino's caravan. Rhino lets himself fully transform into the Rhino, and we finally get the final fight of Kraven the Hunter. Rhino's scales are too tough for Kraven's knives to penetrate, so Kraven has to resort to dodging and defense to stay alive. However, Kraven notices that Rhino still has the opening for his medicine, so he stabs Rhino through the medicine hole and then wraps him up with a cord and throws the hook into the stampede, which causes Rhino to get trampled in the most goofy way possible. Like, just watch this again. Watch it a third time. This is such a goofy way to die. Why is his body flailing around like a rag doll? How was one buffalo running enough to pull this giant heavy Rhino guy this far back? I don't know, and I don't care at this point. Let's just get this done. Rhino basically tells Kraven that Nikolai set Kraven up and that was the one who sent him the video. So Kraven finds his father on a hunting trip and asks him about it, and his dad admits to it. He knew that Rhino was too strong for him apparently, and he knew that his son was the hunter because of dumb writers, so he intentionally set up his son so that Kraven would take out the Rhino for him. How did he get the security video? Why would this guy who is all about looking tough and being a man be too much of a wussy to fight Rhino himself? So instead he sent Kraven after him. What made him think that Rhino was going to come after his crime empire? Wait guys, let me guess. There was a good chance that maybe, possibly, probably, perchance, perhaps, by chance, potentially, remotely, conceivably, that there was a possibility that maybe, possibly, Rhino was going to come after him, so he thought that he should just, without knowing for sure if that was the case, go after Rhino first. Does that sound familiar? So yeah, Kraven is mad that his dad would do that and put Dimitri at risk, so he uses his land Aquaman powers one more time to stick a bear on his dad and kill him. A year later, Kraven is meeting with Dimitri, and Dimitri tells him that he has decided to assume control of their father's old business. Kraven asks him why he would do that when he said that he wasn't going to do that, but Dimitri never really gives a direct answer. He just sort of tells Kraven that he found a doctor in New York who really changed him, and that, yeah, he decided to change his mind, and now he does want to become a crime lord for some reason. now, even though he didn't want to do that before. I don't know, bro, just go with it at this point. Dimitri storms off because he knows that Kraven had something to do with their father's death, even though it was a wild bear attack, and I highly doubt that he knows Kraven has the Aquaman power thing, and Kraven decides to run after him and talk things out. Bro, how did you guys look at this and not think it was the dumbest, goofiest thing you could have possibly put into the movie and scrap this idea altogether? This movie is a comedy, bro, I swear. So it turns out that Dimitri is the chameleon now. God knows what that doctor did to him, and the movie ends with Kraven going home and finding a gift from his dad, which is his iconic vest with the lion mane on it. There's no end credit scene, there are no more Sony Spiderman Universe movies, and we are finally done. We have survived the torture. Now that we have survived through these 3 worst movies from Sony's failed Spider-Man universe, as promised, I'm gonna rank these movies from best to worst. Again, like I stated in the ranking for my worst horror movies of 2024 video, go check that video out by the way, maybe still my best video ever. Just because one of these movies is better than another on this list does not mean that any of these movies are good. This movie is like comparing dirty diapers in the garbage bin, so a movie being higher on this list should not be mistaken for that movie being good. It just means that it was slightly less awful than the other films below it. Okay, now that we've cleared that up, starting with the best of the worst, we have Kraven. Kraven the Hunter is a bad movie. The writing is bad, the acting ranges from okay to laughable, character motivations can be whack, the effects can be goofy, but at the very least, there were a few solid scenes and moments. I thought the action for the most part was the strongest from any of the 3 movies, and there is at least some semblance of a compelling story and interesting characters in this movie, which is a lot more than I can say about the other 2 films on this list. You could tell that there was some level of competence behind this movie. There were some elements that could have worked if they were introduced and established better or implemented differently, and honestly, that is enough to give it the edge over Morbius and Madam Web. Speaking of those 2 movies, it's time to get to our second worst Sony Spider-Man Universe movie, which is none other than, drumroll please, although I'm sure you can all tell what's coming next, Morbius. That's right, it's Morbin time. Morbius is a terrible movie in almost every aspect of filmmaking. It is extremely hard for me to find one redeeming quality about this movie. The characters are bare bones, the story is empty and weightless, awful ADR and CGI disrupt scenes. There is really no thing that I can think of that this movie did well, aside from being shot decently. But do you know what makes it better than Madam Web? At least this movie feels like it has a tiny something happening during its runtime. That and the fact that all of this stuff that the movie did bad, Madam Web did worse. That's it. Everything in Morbius was bad. It was just slightly less bad than everything in Madam Web. I felt a tiny bit more engaged watching this movie than Madam Web, and wow, I can't believe I'm saying that I felt more engaged watching Morbius than some other movie. But you know what, I actually can believe it because that movie is Madam Web. So yeah, to no one's surprise, Madam Web takes first place. All 3 of these movies had super goofy, terrible moments that made me either cringe from pain or laugh from cringe, but by far the movie with the most of those moments is Madam Web. I really have no idea why they thought this needed to be a movie. It hardly even tells the story. The character who the movie is centered around is some 6th-rate, hardly known side character who has never been the focus of a comic or story before, and the same terrible writing that plagued the rest of these movies in this universe plagues this movie, but to an even higher degree. I have already discussed a lot of the flaws of this movie at length in 3 other videos on my channel, so check those out if you want more on why this movie sucks. But yeah, Madam Web takes the crown as the worst Sony Spider-Man Universe movie, and is actually, unironically, one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my entire life. If you enjoyed this video, then please consider showing me some support by leaving a like, subscribing if you want to see more content like this, and letting me know in the comments what you thought about these movies. Again, I really recommend you go check out my worst horror movies of 2024 video. Link is in the description and it's probably on the screen now. And yeah, I'll catch you all on the next video. Have a great day.